Okay, thanks, Henry. So the topic of this panel is supposed to be, what is the future of our field? Which I'm interpreting as, what is the key challenge that's going to determine the future of our field of mixed and augmented reality? In order to analyze that, let's try to think about where is it that we've actually come from in the past. So in the beginning, in the early days of augmented reality, what is it we were actually trying to do? Well, I would say that we were trying to build professional applications. Why? Because in order to do anything with augmented reality, you needed to have specialized displays, SGIs to do the rendering, specialized trackers. The only people who could actually conceive of actually being able to afford all that kind of stuff were professional applications, such as military applications, or medical, or maintenance or repair of complex visual equipment. And I deliberately picked two images on the right that are very recent, just to emphasize that these continue on to this day. These are active in areas of research and actual application and actual use these days. But, as we all know, there's also a lot of media interest within the past 2 years or so in this field of augmented reality. And for the most part, most of that has not really been on the professional applications, but really what I would call the mass market applications. Because now, as we all know, we're able to reach the masses through platforms such as the home PCs, the console gaming platforms, and especially the mobile phones that everybody already has. And so therefore you see now tons and tons of what I call pop-up content. You see pop-ups that help you in navigating into where you're walking around. You see pop-up advertisements. This is from the Wellington Zoo, the first example that I know of on a newspaper advertisement. You see pop-up creatures that walk on your living room that you can play with and you can interact with. You can see pop-up advertisements far more than I can keep track of that are out for marketing and things either on markers or markerless things or on your face or other kinds of stuff. So one of the first key questions is, will this type of pop-up content be compelling 5 years from now, 10 years from now? That's unclear. Okay. My intuition is that for certain types of applications, the ones that are more information-based, like the navigation, this is probably true, that it probably will be sufficient. But for other types of content, ones that are more focused on the content itself, the experience, the entertainment kind of things, it's likely to not be the case. And so now the question then becomes, what makes things compelling? And by compelling, I mean things like what experiences or things that people are willing to spend some effort in order to actually go through or to acquire, or especially if they want to spend a fair amount of money to actually do that. And I started to think about what were examples of ones that really stuck with me, that I found compelling. And two of them that came immediately to mind. The first one is Contact Water. This was built by the Mixed Reality Systems Laboratory, and at the time, I hadn't seen anything like this previously. And it was a thing where you basically had little pools of water in front of your hand, and you could have dolphins, you could exchange them with other people, you could play with them. It wasn't a game, per se. It was a fun little experience. People called it delightful. They called it magical. They used words that I hadn't really seen associated with augmented reality previously. A more recent example is the Haunted Book. Now, to me, this was my favorite demonstration in ISMAR 2008. Where you have these artistic and evocative kinds of book designs that, when augmented with also artistic content to show sort of like scary things added into this book, it was really compelling, at least to me. And one thing that is shared between these two examples is that not only did they have just superb technical implementation, they also had an artist who was involved in the design and the creation of both of these experiences. And so really, to me, in order to advance the field and make these kinds of compelling experiences, it's not just a technology problem. All the technical kinds of things that has been the focus historically of most of ISMAR in the past, that's all important, but it's not sufficient. We also need advancements in design and in art and in business and groups and organizations that are able to bring all of these together, or projects where people can, from these different disciplines, can work effectively together. And so that's a big reason why I'm where I'm at right now, which is the Nokia Research Center Hollywood. Sorry, I'm just showing the managers on here. So besides me, we also have Sean White. He's here attending at the conference. And not only does he have a strong technical background in publishing at ISMAR and CHI, he also has a strong artistic background of making displays and galleries and things. I'm very privileged to be able to work with Lance Williams, who is a pioneer in computer graphics. Not only has he worked with the entertainment industry in animation and feature films, he was the inventor of mid mapping. He was involved in the creation of QuickTime VR. He's won the Coons Award for SIGGRAPH, which is the top award given in SIGGRAPH. He's also won a Science and Technology Oscar. Our director, our boss, is Rebecca Allen. She was a professor in design and media arts at UCLA. She started that department. She was recently listed in Fast Company's list of 100 top creative people in business, and she's won an Emmy. on that. So we are, as part of our charter, one of the things that our lab was created, and we're only about 2 years old, by the way, to do was to try to explore new forms of mobile compelling content in that, and to be able to have, we're interdisciplinary by design, and we have the ability to work with other designers, artists, etc. on that. So let me try to give an example of one particular thrust if you're trying to build compelling content. Now, let's say you want to learn about the Battle of Gettysburg, the American Civil War. Now I realize that this may not resonate with the majority of this audience, but let me translate it slightly. The American Civil War decided whether the United States was going to be one country or two countries, which I think people in Korea can understand is also a topic that is very dear to their hearts. Now, if you want to learn about Gettysburg, you could watch a film about it, which was built with all the standard techniques that was done in Hollywood. It's very compelling. But Gettysburg was also a real event. And you can actually go to the spot of Gettysburg. And what you see, actually, on the surface doesn't seem all that interesting. It's very plain, empty grass fields, lots of monuments. This particular spot is a place which is called Pickett's Charge. And for those people who actually know about the Civil War, who know why this spot is important, and I'll tell you that a lot of people in the southern part of the United States, they know what this is. There was a power, and there was a feeling just from being at that actual spot, to know that you are actually at the real spot where these important things actually happen. So can you combine the strengths of both of these types of approaches with a mobile device? That's basically what the particular project that we tried to do, which was a demo, a test bed, an experiment that we call the Westwood Experience. Now I know there are a lot of location-based experiences. I know in mixed augmented reality we have these museum guide tours and archaeological visualizations, things like that. But I think what made our project different was a combination of three things. The first is that we tried to make the story elements tied very tightly to specific, unique, and powerful locations. And the second is that we tried to enhance the perception of these locations through basically a simple linear story. This was not a game, this was not an alternate reality game, a marketing venture, a puzzle. It was really just trying to tell a story tightly tied with these locations. And we also combined it with mixed reality, trying to blend the real and the virtual in different ways, which I know is more common in this community, but in overall location-based experiences that is not as common. So let me go ahead and show you a video, about a 5-minute video. Now I'll mention that this is a paper in the Arts and Media Humanities side that Jason Wither presented on Thursday. He's a member of my group. And so if you're interested in this, I invite you to go read the paper and see the other supplemental videos in that, or find Jason and myself after the panel.
Join us on an interactive location-based experience where the audience walks through the story. It all starts at the Westwood Movie Theater on Westwood Boulevard in Los Angeles. By playing a game together on the A series of images serve as clues to help us navigate the streets. But first, using image recognition software, we take a picture of the hand-drawn map of Westwood. The device shows us our journey, and with headsets on, we listen to Mayor Keith as he guides us through Westwood and reveals the surprising story of the love of his life.
Westwood promised plenty to new arrivals. A bountiful future was there for the taking, or so it seemed to me when I arrived in 1949.
Our first image clue is a fire hydrant.
Do you see the coffee house, Pete's? That building was originally a supermarket. Quite a splendid one, called Ralph's. Let's move on, and I will tell you about it.
We then look for the number 206, our next image clue.
That gold and azure structure, which now houses Yamato, a Japanese restaurant, was originally built in 1922. Your device will show you how it looked in 1949 when I arrived. Does it look like a place where you could fall in love and end up staying a lifetime? It was. I did. I got off a bus on Wilshire a couple blocks from here, and Found this little cafe. I went in strictly out of curiosity, which is when I noticed a scent, which accompanied a feeling that my life was about to change. I turned around, and there she was. She was a blonde, full-on woman. What's your name? She said hers was Norma. This place gives me an itch, she said. Let's get out of here.
Illustrations on the device show only one part of the story.
The Westwood Brewery. This was a theater arts school back then. Back then it was magic. Upstairs was a special room. She called it a rehearsal space and showed me a key.
We now go back in time and physically enter their world of 1949.
I followed her up.
Inside the room, using surround sound technology, Norma tells her side of the story.
Come on in. Take your hat off. Can I offer you a drink? Now, would it make you nervous if I said, don't be nervous?
We fooled around. And gradually, and by degrees, and in accordance with nature's law, we ended up staying the entire night. The next day, I tried to make Norma understand how much I cared for her, how I knew she was no ordinary woman. When I came out of there, under instruction to fetch her coffee, I stopped short. I was looking across the street. A jewelry store.
Pete left the store with the little blue box and ran into Norman at the theater.
Right here, I said, will you marry me? And she said, I wish I could be. I pulled my fist in my heart, unfolded my hand, opened the box and offered her the ring. She wouldn't take it. I can't be with a man like you because of what I mean to be and have to do to be it. You'll find a real woman. She'll be happy and so will you, Norma said. I heard a car door slam. As I looked up, a Packard was pulling away. Norma in the passenger seat. It was the last time I saw her. I never spoke of her, or what happened that night between us to anyone.
Many years passed before Pete found Norma again.
We're almost there. Take a few paces to the end of the building, turn to your left. You'll see a bench with her name on it. You'll see flowers and her resting place. And her name is there as well.
Okay, to conclude, let me submit that I think that where we are as a field is very similar to the early days of motion pictures, where, as Boris told you yesterday in his keynote, one of the earliest types of content that was ever seen on motion pictures were things of moving trains. Look, a train moving on the screen. Look, I have a marker, I have a dancing bear on it. Audiences were thrilled by that in the early days. But they didn't stay thrilled for very long on that. And so really, in order for the technology of motion pictures to actually advance and become the medium of cinema, they needed advancements both in technology and in art and in design, especially the business model, if you're actually going to make money off of this. And very similar, I think that we're faced with a similar challenge, that if the field of augmented and mixed reality is to reach the potential that I hoped for when I first started in this field, we also need to be able to move beyond these kinds of pop-ups and do future types of, where it's a key part of future types of medium that are different from film, that are different from television, that are different from today's types of video games. And that to me is the key challenge that we need to address if this field is going to actually reach its actual potential. Thanks, and let's go ahead and the next speaker is Selma.